Hopefully my head is in frame. Good morning, YouTube. So on this episode, it's still undetermined as far as what's going on here. But first things first, I just woke up and I feel like I got hit by a bus, which seems to be the theme. Anytime I wake up, I feel like I get hit by a bus. I'm tired. I don't want to do the things, but I end up always doing the things, and when I start doing the things, I always end up feeling better. So here we are. We're starting to do the things. On the list today, I've got a laundry list of things that I do need to do, but it's been a couple months since I've sailed and gone out on at anchor and spent a night over anchor. I don't think it's been I think it's been like a month. I try and do it every month. Otherwise, you lose your mind on doing boat projects, and so I think it's important to balance. And I actually learned this from a salty neighbor who's sailed around the world and been to Hawaii and all the places. He came up to me and he was like, yeah, you work really hard, but it's important that, and he basically said exactly what I just said. It's important that you once a month you go out and you make an intention of of spending a weekend at anchor. And so I try and do that, and it does a couple things. One, it gets me used to being at anchor, and I learn a lot from the times that I spend overnight. One time I went out and I didn't check the weather forecast, and it was like 40 knots of wind, and it was wild, and I nearly lost my fingers. And I was by myself, nearly lost my fingers. My gypsy on the for my windlass spun off, and the road started just paling out at 1,000 miles an hour. And at that exact moment, I realized that I forgot to tie off the bitter end. So if it was just gonna go, and disappear. So I grab it, and I'm in 40 knots of wind, and it's probably like, I don't know, 3 to 4 foot waves, not huge waves because we're on the river, but for the river, huge waves. And so the boat's rocking, and I just grab onto the road as it's like just paling out through my hands. And I managed to, and I was so tired because it was at the end of sailing, it was like a 10-hour day sailing upriver, and I was exhausted. And I was just like sitting there with my arms extended, holding onto the line for like 10 minutes because I was too tired to pull it back up. And so I was just trying to time the waves, and then pulled it back up, tied it around the cleat, and all was well. And I learned that all I had to do was just literally just get my foot, put it on the gypsy, and then tighten it. Just tighten the gypsy, and then it would have been fine. I would have had traction again in the windlass. And I figured that out immediately after 10 minutes of fighting for my life and tying it off, and I figured that out. So, long story long. It's important to take the boat out. You learn a lot. And you don't want to get too, you don't want to lose your mind in boat projects. So that's what we're going to try and do today. That was a long story. But what we need to install, I don't know if this is the first time I've even looked at it. I don't even know if it's the right length. I don't even know if it's going to fit. I'm looking at it now. It does look a little big. We'll see. We'll see if it works. But this is my engine shut off. I found this on a tractor website for like $13. And I have a tractor engine, so should work. But yeah, we're gonna install. Even if we don't install this, I'll probably still go sailing. But we'll see. I'm gonna install this, and then we'll go sail. So yeah, stay tuned. So far, it's not looking promising, because this is the new one, and this is the old one, and you can see this. The gauge of that is much smaller than that. That component's also bigger than that. But we're just gonna try and do it. See what happens. All right, so here's this here, and it needs to screw on. It actually fit in this thing here, which is a pleasant surprise. And now it doesn't fit on here with the this bracket here that goes on it, and the screws are too short. So I found some screws and washers in a mystery box of screws and washers, and I'm going to use that And is it a little fishy? Probably, but I don't know. I'm gonna use them, and hopefully that works. So I'll let you know. Alrighty, that looks absolutely ridiculous. It's just too big. The whole system's too big, but it works, so I'm going to leave it. And I've already damaged it a little bit by clamping it here, so I can't return it. It is what it is, but it works. Works just fine. Alrighty, that is the fishiest thing I've done so far. But I think it works. We're about to find out. Let me, yeah, we're about to find out if it works, but yeah, that's the fishiest thing I've done so far. It's just too big, but it works and it was cheap, so, but yeah, here it is. I mean, it's a bit big, but let's see. Woo! Yep, it works. Cool. I mean, whatever. It was cheap. If it was a more important component, I probably would have just gotten the correct thing. But worst case scenario, that fails and I can't immediately turn my engine off. So it's like, it works. It's heavy duty. I certainly don't think that helps in this situation, but yeah, I don't know. I'm proud of it. I have to replace the. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but I have to replace this thing because it's simply too small. It's too small for it, so I'm gonna have to run to the hardware store next time I'm around and pick up a bigger thing so it can fit through there. But it certainly works in the meantime. So. It is time to, the boat is not in ship shape at all, so I'm going to spend the next 30-45 minutes cleaning up the boat, and then we'll head off. We'll set sail and do some sailing and see if I can make some content out of that. But yeah, it's about to get real exciting. It's going to be wet, soaking wet. I don't know why I'm doing it. I don't know, I like sailing, I guess. But yeah, it'll be a good time, I think. One of my propane heater tank is empty, so once we're at anchor, I'll probably just swap out the cable. Once I've cooked food and we're at anchor, I'll probably swap out the cables, or swap out the plug it into the other one. That way I have heat. I could go to the gas station and just fill it up, but I don't want to. So. Ship shape, yeah, more or less, but I didn't make the bed because I'm going to use that later. And now I got to start taking off all the things, get the boat ready to roll. It should be, wet and miserable, so. All right, boat's a mess. Bring the fenders in so I don't look like a complete idiot. I always look at other boats and they leave their fenders out and I'm like, oh, stupid idiots, and then immediately realize that I still have my fenders out. Yeah. All right, so there is no wind. So now I have to have the internal argument and decide whether or not I just want to just put the sails up and float and hope that there's a gust of wind coming. 25 knots of wind. I think that's what the purist would do. So yeah, I might do that, and then just anchor wherever we end up. But yeah, I've been getting really unlucky with this wind situation this past few times. It's tough because I am on a narrow river too, so you know, when I do get wind, it's usually in the direction that I do not want it. But I don't know, we'll see how far we can go. Probably just put the sails up. I don't know, maybe we'll float around and talk about things, but we'll see. Let's see how far we can go. But really quick, I might as well give you a mini tour of my boat. Obviously this is the companionway. We'll do just the outside. It is a filthy mess because it's winter and it's really hard to keep it clean, especially because I live right next to an airport, so the planes fly over and you know, the soot gets on the boat, and it's just, you know, it's hard. I usually do boat projects or sailing, and then there's not a lot of daylight left whenever I'm done with either of those things, if there's any daylight left, and end up having to, you know, I haven't cleaned the boat, which it's kind of sucks because I take a lot of pride in the boat and I like it clean. So I'm gonna show it off, but just know I prefer it cleaner. But yeah, it's a beautiful boat. It's a compact 33. So this is hole number 10 of this is hole number 4 of 10. And yeah, it's a beautiful boat. It was designed after the Island Packet, and it came out at the same time, this model, and it was supposed to compete with the Island Packet, which was the idea. And they were selling this boat for $5,000 more than the Island Packet, and the Island Packet's a better boat, so they didn't do very well. You know, they primarily makes like trailer sailors, so they did make a 35. I don't know how many they made. So with the 35 compact is the exact same boat. They just added a sugar scoop on the back, whereas mine doesn't have one. But yeah, it's a beautiful boat. I love it. It's not as good as the Island Packet. It doesn't have a protected rudder, but it has an encapsulated keel. And as far as the rudder situation, whatever. You know, I did really well for the limited knowledge that I had when I bought this boat, because I learned everything I could. I didn't know anything about boats, and I learned everything I could in a 30-day time frame, and my options were pretty limited. And I think I think it was a good choice. I overpaid for sure, but I love the boat. I wouldn't if I had to make the decision again, I'd make it again. It's a beautiful boat. So, alrighty. I hate motoring. It's just like, you know, unnecessary wear and things like that. But figured I'd let it run for a little bit, warm the engine up, get things lubricated. But whatever. Might as well just throw the sails up and drift around and see what happens. See if we get lucky with the wind. So let's get to it. All right, so it looks like there's maybe, I don't know, probably like 2 knots of wind. It'll be off the bow, so we'll be sailing into wind upriver, which, these planes all day long. But we'll be sailing into wind upriver, maybe sailing, I don't know. I'm gonna go put the sails up. Seamless. There's a boat there that's ran aground what seems like 20 years ago. It's always been there. But yeah, let's get this sail back up. I got a little bit distracted. Yeah, the current's really strong. We're basically at a dead, with a The engine's in neutral, or not neutral, it's in just forward gear with no power, and we're basically not moving.